A 3/4 mile short track slightly bigger than its Virginia counterpart, Richmond Raceway is the host for tonight's event in the Integrity Octane Series. Gen 4 action returning after our 1-week break, and it's time to get things going once again, this time by at the action track itself, qualifying on the move from Richmond with 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Welcome back live on FTN. It's been an exciting Integrity Octane Series campaign thus far, seeing some familiar faces return to the top of the charts, some rookies getting quicker and quicker, and now in the second leg of the campaign, we're just minutes away from getting to another race here with a short track on the table. We saw Bristol previously, now we got Richmond right up next. Let's get back into the racing action tonight. I'll be your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and it's an exciting night as qualifying is indeed on the move. Matthew Thunors looks to be at the top of the board, tentatively speaking, with the number 80. He'll be there at the pole. 15 thousandths of a second is the difference that got him there. Thunors is going to be on top, and he's coming down and into pit road this time by. In addition, you're looking now further back at drivers who are on the way. Braxton DeWeese, the number 13 machine, taking him a look up high. You got him there through 3 and 4, and using that momentum off the corner to come through the curved front straightaway. So Braxton DeWeese is now going to be on the way in his number 13, looking to make what is his first time lap this time by. Braxton going to be among others with 17 times taken to this point, and you'll see DeWeese staying all the way up to the top side and usually keeping himself right up to the wall. We'll see what he does this time through. That's lap number 1. That moves Braxton up into 15th. He's going from 21st to 15th on that one, and now going to come a little bit lower into the first 2 turns. Watching now, the drivers are using those different lanes here in Richmond, a track where every groove goes. Sam Nieto going to be on the way in the number 2. Braxton DeWeese going to put himself up inside the top 10 with a 7th place run. Just like that, you find the number 2 on the move. For Sam Nieto, this is his first lap. And just like that, he's going to come out of turn 4 using the bottom side instead of doing what Braxton did there and staying up top. That's going to move Sam Nieto up into 6th. And just like that, almost inside the top 5, maybe a chance to go quicker this time through, staying relatively close on the pace here, 88 thousandths of a second off of pole sitter and Matthew Thunors. And coming across the line this time through Sam Nieto, going to find himself from 6th. No movement. He's going to be good for 6th. He was quicker on that second lap, but only a difference of 4/1000ths of a second. Looks like nobody else taking a new time right now. Don Stevenson, it looks to now be on the track, and that's the number 47 getting on the way. So Stevenson is the final driver looking to take a time. 23 drivers have gone for a lap. Now Stevenson going to be on the move, hoping to be number 24, but laps, you only get 1 or 2 at the very most. It looks like Don won't have time for 1 unless he absolutely books it down to the front stretch. Stevenson, he's going to be on a flyer here if he wants to make any time on the charts. Average lap time so far going to be about a 21.6. He has about 22 seconds flat on the line. You see him there, number 47, running down and into the bottom of the corner, looking to get a nice run off. 3 seconds remaining, but for Don Stevenson, not enough. That's going to end qualifying. Stevenson not going to set a time. And at the top of the board, Matthew Thunors by 15/1000ths of a second. Just like that, it's going to be qualifying concluded. Thunors at the top of the board. Mr. Consistency in the Integrity Ignite Series. And Texas, chaotic last night. We saw where that went for the number 8 team, and now looking to get a bit of a better run tonight, maybe win with the Gen 4 stock cars. We'll see where that goes for the man in the number 80 here in Richmond, and figure out how it is like for the rest of your starting grid from top to bottom. Without further ado, this is the lineup for tonight's event. Welcome aboard. This is the Ottawa Excitement 200, and it looks like before we get that starting grid all settled in, got one thing to take care of before it's all said and done. We'll be right back after a brief message from iRacing Motorsport Simulations to get the up-to-date grid. Looks like some of our colors and numbers not quite proper. We'll be right back after this message.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Once again, welcome back, race fans, to the World Center of Racing, Daytona National Speedway, as we get set for our second on-track activity today.
Racing requires everything that you've got. Climbing into NASCAR on Sunday, it feels like you're getting ready to go into battle.
When I hit that ignition switch, that car fires up. It's one of the best things in the world.
The starting grid is back here in Richmond. Good to have it back, and it looks like Matthew Thunhorst, as we said, in that number 80, he's at the top of the board. Finds himself there with a 21.276, and it's Galen Gidman in second, 14 one-thousandths of a second behind after final calculations. Now, in addition, you'll see Michael Araya in third, Tom Wetmore in fourth. Dead heat for your drivers on that second row. Wetmore going to be fourth with a 21.312, just a bit slower than Michael Araya. Nick Tarbuck going to find himself to round out the top five, and it'll be Sam Nieto in sixth, 21.36 for the driver, that number 2. Cody Smith is 7th position, 21.368 for him, and Blake Cannon, first start of the season for the number 27, and Cannon choosing to start at the short track. Watch out for the driver in 8th tonight. Cannon finding himself their first start of this new leg. We'll see what he's got in store. Matter of fact, we have seen him previously in this campaign making his first start in this short track setting, as Braxton DeWeese is in 9th and Nicholas Ward rounds out the top 10. Then from there, you're going to see in 11th spot Bobby Terrell and Brian McFerrin in 12th, with Kyle Cooper 13th, Ross Cato in 14th, and Bobby Ross position number 15. 16th place is Trevor Trago. Alan Rawell is in 17th, and Matt Jonas is 18th spot, with Eric McFarland 19th and Sean Kalist rounding out the top 20 with a 21.905. Ethan Lane going to start 21st with the exact same lap time, again a dead heat, and it'll be John Steele 22nd, with Eli Cars, the final driver, taking a lap in this session. Don Stevenson going to be starting 24th, and Chuck Sweeting then 25th, with Brad Patton 26th, 27th going to Jonathan Gearvon, and the 28th and final driver on our starting grid, Randy Fiash in the Ottawa Excitement 200. Now coming into the back straightaway out of 1 and 2, Matthew Thunhorst, who has been, to this point, perhaps the most consistent driver of 2024, hands down. As it stands, of course, having success in the Ignite Series, leading the points championship, and also seeing several podium runs here in the Octane Series, which he's full-time in this campaign as well. However, you could also add it as a bit of a bonus series for him to add to his already well-known reputation as one of the Ignite Series most consistent threats for winner of championship week in, week out. An inaugural driver of the Integrity Ignite Series. This is his first Octane Series season and his first chance to find out what it's like here at Richmond with these Gen 4 stock cars. Now, a lot of these drivers up in front experience at the short tracks. Tom Wetmore, spin and win, got it done last season. Nick Tarbuck getting the win at Iowa, a very similar track after a penalty to 21st place starter tonight in Ethan Lane. And all the way in between, you got drivers who have gotten it done before for victories or otherwise. Ross Cato, most recent short track winner coming into 2024. Then Ethan Lane got it done at Bristol with the last lap pass on Don Stevenson in the number 47, who starts at the back tonight. A myriad of stories to tell as we return from Easter break. iRacing official pace car is down and in. Barney the Flagman will wave the green for the first time in Richmond. Welcome to the Ottawa Excitement 200. Matthew Thunhorst will get the jump as the sun begins to set. Tom Wetmore moves to second. Nancy Wetmore, Doug Middendorf, Chris DeWeese, thank you for stopping by. Great to have you aboard as we just get things going here in Richmond. Nicholas Ward going to be Bobby Terrell right now. Single file for the most part up in front. A few battles already been brewing, but you can see Sam Nieto and Nick Tarbuck are the outliers, tentatively speaking. 3 laps in out of 200, and we're already getting things going with some 3-wide racing almost with Alan Rawell, Ethan Lane, Matt Jonas. It looks like Lane going to be a bit more restless on the start than usual because he's starting way back at that nationwide. Looks like it tonight is going to be a Toyota. We'll get a better look at it as the night goes on. That's not the case. It's a Chevy SS, and it looks like he is in a sea of different manufacturers. Got a Ford right up top, got the Chevy Impala down low, even a Dodge just ahead, and that's in Brian McFerrin. And now you can see that number 54 brand new paint scheme for Ethan Lane working to the bottom side. Lane gonna take it all the way down low on Trevor Trago. This would already be the pass for 15th, mind you. So at this rate, Ethan Lane moving up quickly with, of course, aggression as he wants to make it around every driver. White Machines, Kyle Cooper, Bobby Terrell, similar in paint scheme, similar in position. And in the early going, they're right beside each other. There's Kyle Cooper down at the bottom, Bobby Terrell right up top. The run for Terrell prevails at the line, but I think the minor advantage might be with Kyle Cooper. Down to the inside, you'll see that 73 take it right over Terrell. Side by side they remain, and now Bobby Ross in the Adam Petty throwback paint scheme making his way into the fight. All the same, side by side, the middle of the field, front runners, it got in the way. Right now, Matthew Thunhorst is the man who leads over Tom Wetmore. Wetmore approximately half a second behind. Good battle right now between these two drivers, running at about 11th. It's the fight for 11th anyway, and they look to be the closest of any set of drivers Alan Rawell fading on the back bumper of Jonathan Giervon. They were close for a while, but now Cooper and Terrell together side by side for 3 laps running. Almost identical replicas of each other's paint scheme. A few differences, even though they're both yellow and red numbers. A little bit more of an orangey tint for Kyle Cooper, and the 73 slots back, so Bobby Terrell gets the spot. Nice move there as you look 2 spots ahead to Braxton Deweese. Brand new paint scheme and a brand new sponsor for the driver, the number 13. So, a little bit of an opportunity to represent the brand. Looks like Jane's on main for the 13 as we get a little bit of information chasing Blake Cannon tonight. And Blake looked oh so good. This is his first short track race with this league. However, had a very impressive debut before we went to our Easter break. And Cannon with us once again. Now we're going to find himself 8th. Cody Smith just 1 spot above. Side by side, Don Stevenson and Eric McFarland. Quick pass there for Stevenson. That makes him up into the 19th position. A few drivers we didn't expect to see so far back in qualifying, ending up at the tail end of the field. Don Stevenson choosing not to take a lap. That's the most important thing for him. That's going to send him to the back by force. However, you also see drivers like Ethan Lane. Lane took a lap. He started outside the top 20. I think he just did that to make sure he didn't start dead last. Now he's clawing through. It's the fight for 13th, and he's got the spot. Ethan Lane makes another pass. That's going to get him good into the top baker's dozen of the field. Now looking to get up into 12th. Side by side, Nicholas Ward and Braxton Deweese. Last season at Richmond, Nicholas Ward was your leader early. He had the first 20-odd laps of the race in his hands. Disconnected, ended up 7 laps down. That was his night. Just couldn't get back up to the front of the field. So, of course, for Nicholas Ward, hoping to avoid the hardware failures that plagued him all of last year, he's been quick at the bottom half of the top 10 for the majority of this season so far. And I feel that if he can just get those finishes, he's going to show maybe a chance to be an outside championship contender when all is said and done. Looking at the front runners right now, Michael Araya, already a familiar face, and Galen Gidman, who's having a much better sophomore season than his initial rookie campaign would lead you to believe he'd have. Looks like the Gen 4 is suiting him nicely, running in 3rd. I think Gidman due for a breakout this season, and Tom Wetmore due to return to victory lane. His last win came at Bristol last season, so knows what it takes to get it done at the short tracks. Won at 2 of them last time around, and in 2024 still looking for win number 1. I think Wetmore bound to find it sooner or later, but Matthew Thunhorst out in front holds control. 15 laps in at the line, opening run, getting going nicely. Drivers beginning to spread apart more and more. Back of the field, maybe not so much. There you go with the number 7 of Brad Patton, Eric McFarland, and Chuck Sweeting. Sweeting getting it done last night in the Texas Motor Speedway, and his victory in the Ignite Series, of course, can propel him up. A driver who we've been waiting to see get it done with the Xfinity cars. Maybe not making the best of adjustments so far with the Gen 4 stock car. However, still a ways to go in this race, and wouldn't be too concerned if I were Sweeting right now. Looks like Eli Carr's with a little bit of trouble. He'll wiggle back right behind John Giervon, and the number 82 now going to have some pressure from Sean Kalist. Going down to the inside, Kalist gets the spot, collects the pass, and quickly moves on, and it's a swift maneuver into turn 3 to make the 82 machine fade into the rear view quickly. And even quicker now, John Steele gets into the mix as well. Matt Jonas with Brad Patton. Jonas up top, Brad Patton right down low. Number 7 going to opt to go to the bottom side, leave the 15 in the dust, and another quick pass there. Chuck Sweeting makes it by at the same time. Overall, early running of this race, getting everyone settled in nicely. Looks like no cause for concern. It's a 28-car field, so our smallest of the field sizes this season, not in our shortest race. However, Richmond, not a lot of room either way, so you really don't want to stretch it. Of course, we've seen 30-plus drivers in most every other race so far. 28 drivers, still quite the field here at a track that doesn't allow for many more than 40 at its absolute max. Richmond Raceway has a fair share of history when it comes to stock car racing. It's only been in the 3/4 mile configuration we know of it as for the past 30-odd years. And ever since the late 1980s, it's looked much more close to what we recognize relative to what it was in the past. A much different style of racing, a little bit more of a simplistic circuit rather than having the very pronounced D-shaped tri-oval. Now down to the inside, Michael O'Ryan to the bottom here on Galen Gidman. It's a fight for third, and Sam Nieto now going to be in the mix as well. Looking at Nieto putting down the pressure. Take a lap on board with the number 2 and see what it's like in the thick of the fight. The sun is beaming down on Sam Nieto. It's evident as we take about a lap and a half on board with the number 2. It's a little bit more of a glare down the back straightaway. However, that's the only weather these drivers will have to worry about all night long. Overall, the forecast is as sunny as it can get. And when we're talking weather, let's go a little bit more in depth here and find out exactly what's going on. Courtesy of iRacing's new Tempest system, a lot more information on the table. The only big change is going to be tonight. Sunset is going to be quick as we're now on 2 times speed. So for every hour of racing we have, the sun will set the equivalent of 2 hours in the real world right now. These drivers are getting stacked up and they're quick so far, but you gotta wonder, will they be quick when the sun sets? Ethan Lane up into 9th. How about that? He's making great moves right now as the track is slowly but surely getting cooler. It's a track temp of 77 degrees Fahrenheit and air temperature of 67 degrees Fahrenheit and partly cloudy skies here in the virtual Richmond, Virginia. And 26 laps in, it looks like Ethan Lane far and away is the biggest mover. 54 machine is still on the charge. Now looking down to the inside on Blake Cannon. And already looking to go for what could be win number 3, Ethan Lane. He's back in full force, and he's deciding to give himself a bit of a challenge starting at the back of the field, and still made it up to this point rather quickly. 27 laps in for the driver, the number 54, and he's right there on Blake Cannon. Cannon, he's going to go into the middle groove while Lane goes high, trying to choose different grooves here, finding an advantage, maybe an opportunity as Eli Carr is down to the inside. Looks like that number 82 in some early trouble. So Eli going to make it through to pit road. All the while, the biggest pack in the entire circuit fighting again. Looks like now Galen Gidman to the inside of Michael O'Ryan, and it's going to be Gidman maybe holding an advantage down low. Can the bottom side hold fort? It looks like for Gidman's sake, not quite. Michael O'Ryan gets the pass, and Blake Cannon now looking down to the inside on Nick Tarbuck. Cody Smith there too. Ethan Lane lying back, and we talk about Ethan Lane, you gotta mention this. Overall, he has been rapid fast in every race he's had to this point. The biggest worry, in all honesty, has to be whether or not he can keep it consistent, because he's made quite a few of his self-inflicted mistakes which have cost him a victory or two. We saw it at Chicagoland most recently. We saw it in Atlanta. It's been plaguing him more so at the intermediate circuits than anywhere else. However, for Ethan Lane, you gotta wonder, what can he do to keep himself literally out of the wall and keep himself on track to keep gaining spots? He's been so quick making from the back up front, but it's those final few positions which are harder for everyone. They've proven harder for Ethan Lane too. Nick Tarbuck going to be up at the top side now, looking at Galen Gidman go right down to the bottom. The RSVP number 9 working down to the bottom, way down low. Maybe he can keep that spot, but it's not quite. Looks like Nick Tarbuck making the move again as Tom Wetmore now finding his way up for Michael O'Ryan's second spot. Can he hold on here? 46 thousandths of a second. It looks like Wetmore is going to be in the wall, scrapes the side just a bit, and Michael O'Ryan putting down some pressure here. Watch out for the 44 as O'Ryan looks low yet again. Looks like Galen Gibbon not able to hold on with the bottom side, but for O'Ryan, he does so and makes it by Tom Wetmore. That moves Wetmore down into third. Just like that, he's going to be within the confines of the podium, but not quite where he wants to be. Take a look at the back bumper now, Tom Wetmore, and you'll see how much pressure there is right behind. on the back bumper. Sam Nieto gonna leave just about an inch at the very most, it appears, as they come through the start-finish line. And right now for Tom Wetmore, while he's got an onslaught of drivers he's holding off, it's gonna let a little more tensions flare in the back of the field. Well, not the back of the field necessarily, but now the back of the top 5. Blake Cannon gonna try to make a move on Nick Tarbuck. That's good for 5th, and Tarbuck gonna slide right now into the 6th position. Maybe an opportunity now for Blake Cannon to go after Sam Nieto. Right there, Cannon gets to the higher side of the circuit, blocks Lane, and now the 54 is going to go all the way up top. Ethan Lane going to wiggle just a bit with Nick Tarbuck, slows the both of them down all at once. Galen Gidman going to fade back into 8th, and now it's going to be 9th spot, held by Braxton Deweese. Rounding out the top 10, it is Cody Smith. So, as it stands, you look at Nick Tarbuck going up to the top side once more, trying to find something here. Ethan Lane going a little bit higher, trying to, of course, find an advantage. There goes Blake Cannon into Lane. They are going to be beating off each other's side panels. Luckily, nothing comes of it, and it's going to be a little bit of contact, but overall, both drivers will live to see another lap. 38 laps in out of 200. My, oh my, for Lane and, of course, Blake Cannon, both involved. Could have been much, much worse. And on going, regardless of that little incident, they're still side by side, neck and neck, and not going to lay off each other in the slightest as they come across the start to finish line. And now Sam Nieto with Tom Wetmore. Nieto going to go down to the bottom side in the Tube Tech Chevrolet. There's Tom Wetmore, and Wetmore going to be passed. That's good for 3rd. Sam makes it inside the podium. You see that number 27 now going to be running in the Swindell Supplies machine right up top. It looks like he's got himself a nice position to gain, and that he does. Blake Cannon tonight, he's got himself a nice sponsor. We saw him previously with the iRacing machine. First ever drive, lead laps, getting it done at Chicagoland, but now he's got a veteran right below him. There goes the Nationwide Chevrolet. Ethan Lane looking for the top 5. Took him a little bit of a while to get up from 9th to 6th, but now he's trying to make up 2 spots and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Blake Cannon puts pressure on Tom Wetmore. Ethan Lane puts pressure on Blake Cannon, and as a result, he'll put a little more pressure on Wetmore too. Gotta look at that one more time. It looks like for Ethan Lane, he almost makes contact with Cannon. Not going to be hesitating in the slightest to go for a risky move when absolutely necessary. Side by side, the 54 goes up top. Now Nick Tarbuck could be right there with them, but overall, Matthew Thunhorst, we have yet to mention the driver in that number 80. He is out in front there with a good gap, a 2.5 second gap that is, over the rest of the field, who continue to fight each other neck and neck. Sam Nieto going to be down to the inside of Lapper Sean Kalis. Bobby Ross going to be now toe-to-toe with Ross Cato. And it looks like it's going to be Cato down to the bottom looking to get the spot, while Ross Cato has an opportunity to get a run. Bobby Ross sets himself up nicely down the back straightaway, only to lose a bit of momentum with the wiggle. That gives the position easily back to Ross Cato. Side by side, Blake Cannon and Tom Wetmore. Blake looking to get by Wetmore, but hasn't quite gotten there just yet. He got through Nick Tarbuck. Looks like Wetmore going to be up next on the hit list. Another spot made up there for Blake Cannon. He'll move up inside the top 5, and it looks like Wetmore might be on his way out. The 51 now sees Ethan Lane, and too little room inside the top 5 for so many of these especially quick drivers. Tom Wetmore having a few more struggles as of the late laps in this early run, and it looks like he's got a little bit of right side damage as we pass right by the front stretch again. The cameras are showing just a little bit more what Wetmore's got in terms of damage. A few scuffs is all, but I think more than that, he's wearing out those tires. See there, now Ethan Lane looking up top. Lane gonna look high, Wetmore stays low. The defense is still on point. Lane surely trying to find that room. Take a look on board now with the 54. I think he's just found the spot, maybe to even go after Blake Cannon. So it looks like now the number 27 would be up next as Ethan Lane at the line. He's going to be free of Tom Wetmore, but only just. Now going to be coming down and into turns 1 and 2. Tom Wetmore going to be down to his inside, and it looks like Wetmore not going to make it an easy fight. The 51 ends up losing it there, and just like that, bottom side for Tom Wetmore. He's right there, and it looks like now with Nick Tarbo. Looks like a little bit more information. Braxton DeWeese disconnection, and the reason being he just lost power in a very unfortunate circumstance there for the 13 team. Power is out. Might not be over, but early troubles for Braxton DeWeese and company as the number 13 down and out, disconnected about 5 laps to go, so about a minute and a half back. And it looks like on iRacing's timing and scoring, that number 13 is in the shop. A little bit more of a failure out of his control as the 13 crew come down and in. Braxton DeWeese, unfortunately, will have to see whether or not he gets those laps back at all, but so far, not looking too great. We hope to see him back on the track whenever possible, but power outage for Braxton DeWeese and company, 50 laps in. Now Ross Cato side by side with Kyle Cooper. Take a look down low. There goes Ross Cato getting it by Kyle. Don Stevenson now going to be right there with Chuck Sweeting and Bobby Ross. Through some attrition, Chuck Sweeting has made it almost inside the top 15. Only one retiree and an involuntary retirement for Braxton DeWeese. Hardware failure going to give him a 28th spot on the board right now. Matt Jonas has some repairs to get through, and Eli Cars went down a pit road for a long stop as well. Otherwise, everyone is on the track and still racing with 23 cars on the lead lap going back to Alan Rowell. Rowell right now finds himself in jeopardy, though, of being lapped by Matthew Thunderhorse, who is slowly. It's not a big gap either that's been caught up to, but Matthew Thunderhorse has lost about a second of his lead relative to when he had the overall top spot by a clear margin. So for Matthew Thunderhorse, maybe something going on there for the number 80, but it could just be the symptoms of tire age. See there, the number 80 finds himself leading now by 1.8 seconds as he rolls across the scoring pylon. The peak of that lead was just about 3 seconds. There goes Michael Araya. He finds himself now just a few tenths ahead of Sam Nieto. Nieto going to be side by side by Blake Cannon. There's the number 27 right up top. Can he make that middle groove stick? I think he can. He'll get the spot, and Sam Nieto now going to fade one spot back. Ethan Lane going to be given the opportunity here to maybe follow that number 27 in lane, and you can see now Lane's got the shot. Nick Tarbuck going to be just about 7/10 of a second away, fighting his own battle, and Lane's going to be with Sam Nieto working side by side. Blake Cannon got away, but he's going to pull the string through for one of these two drivers. We'll find out which, as Nieto going to dive deep, tries to get away from Lane, maybe going to try to stick it back in on Blake Cannon, but doesn't quite work that time by, and he'll have to stay right on the back bumper. Lane going to go up to the third groove once again, almost up to the wall. And at the start-finish line, one more time, you see it there. It is Lane in the wall, and he's going to have a little bit of trouble keeping the power through. There goes Sam Nieto, and that's all he needed to find a shot through, but it looks like for Lane, he makes it work out regardless. You saw him putting himself up in the wall, nearly a smoke show, but it was all the sparks that were flying, and even though he's got a right side scuff, you see it there. It's the 54 Lane. He's made it through, and he is now running in fourth. How about that for Ethan Lane? A quick move gets by Nieto. Blake Cannon, though, is still up next. Bobby Terrell now going to be fighting to get inside the top 10. He is with Eli Cars, the lapper, and Nicholas Ward. Looks like Cars is going to run him right up the track. Wow. I don't think Bobby Terrell going to be happy about that one at all. Eli Cars, mind you, is a lap machine, and he was there in the thick of the battle for the top 10. So we'll return to that battle if it comes once more. Looks like Bobby Ross going to fade right behind Brian McFerrin. Trevor Trago, Don Stevenson, 16th, 17th respectively. Kyle Cooper now going to be in 15th. Sweden, Patton rolling up with each other. Gap between the both of which 0.2 of a second apiece. 60 laps in out of 200, a nice opening stint. 200 laps. Now we have to wonder what is next for strategy calls. These drivers should be able to make it throughout the entire race on approximately 2 stints if they're playing it safe, which I think they will. A 100-lap run both ways through does not seem to be the best of calls. Now, 60, 60, 60, that's 180. 70, 70, 70 gets us to 210, so the sweet spot right now looks to be about lap 65, lap number 66. Ross is in early. He'll come in first. That is your first green flag pit stop scheduled for strategy. Bobby Ross will open the door, and now pit cycles are on the way here in Richmond with Matthew Dunhorst up in front. Keep an eye out for pit road's entry here in the coming laps. More and more of the field will come down and in. We'll watch the signals and commands, as it looks like right now Dunhorst still ahead and actually has gained about 0.2 of a second since our last checkup. But Ethan Lane and Blake Cannon have gotten even closer. But see Blake Cannon working up to the top side here, trying to keep that defense on with the momentum, which has been a power play for all drivers in that position. However, Ethan Lane, he has not been able to hesitate all night long. He has been relentless in his pursuit of positions, time in and time out. And now that number 54 working down to the bottom side, going to be side by side with about even momentum. And it's not going to be even for long if Lane can find even one crack in the armor, which so far he hasn't quite found. Bobby Ross, the lapper, has new tires, and he's coming in this time through to fight with both Cannon and Lane. He'll go through easily, swoop down to the bottom side, and for his sake, of course, you just got to keep on going. If you're faster, I think everyone's going to excuse him for the time being, given that he is sticking to those corners making passes quite easily. As for Blake Cannon, that's going to bail him out, at least for now. You see Sam Nieto getting a bit closer, and now your leaders are coming down and in. Tom Wetmore, the first of which, there goes Wetmore. He'll make it through, and as such, we've got strategy calls made at the front of the field. Tom Wetmore, Randy Fiash going to be in the mix with some of your leading drivers, and it looks like he'll fade back on Nick Tarbuck. Number 4, just like that, gets by. Not going to be a pass overall for position, but just going to be working through the track position as now Cody Smith comes down and in. Smith is going to come in with Bobby Terrell. They'll both come in at once, and just like that, going to be a pair of drivers in the pit road at lap number 67, and it should be a 2-stop strategy the way things are looking, so watch out now for Dunhorst and company as Sam Nieto drops in, and he brings Nick Tarbuck with him. Just like that, multiple drivers, more and more coming through. Looks like another one going to be Ryan McFerrin. There's the 07 coming through this time by, and it's going to be McFerrin taking the opportunity, getting the pass, and that will move him into pit road alongside some of your front runners who just came in, including leader Matthew Dunhorst and Ethan Lane. Lane going to come through from the 4th position on the track. Now Michael Lariah is your new race leader. Blake Cannon is second, 0.2 of a second back. Maybe a chance to get up here to Lariah, who's been running up inside the top 5, 69 laps in. Nice opportunity for Lariah to lead his first lap of the day, and that he does. New race leader as Galen Gidman is down at pit road. The number 9 machine ups to come in this time by. Quick move in for the Chevy Impala, who you see now on the screen, front and center. Galen Gidman comes in with Chuck Sweeting. Blake Cannon right behind Michael Lariah is going to drift up the track just a bit. He'll stay safe, and it looks like he will keep on going. Galen Gidman now going to be into pit road as you see Chuck Sweeting coming into pit road himself. John Steele also going to be on the track. Matt Jonas looks to have disconnected as well. However, that is your first voluntary disconnection of the night. Looks like John Steele just got out of the car in that number 22. We'll see what his plans are for the rest of the day, as now Blake Cannon makes it in. Blake coming in from second on the board, a 71 lap stint. Good to put him up into second overall. We'll see where he cycles out when all is said and done. 72 laps in is the comer through this time by with Lariah as your leader, and it's going to be the 3rd spot, held now by Ross Cato. Nicholas Ward going to be in second, and Brad Patton there in 4th. Rounding out the top 5, it's going to be Randy Fiash for the time being. Big differences here as now Michael Lariah coming through right on board with new race leader Nicholas Ward, just moments away from getting down to pit road. And for Nick Tarbuck, the caution will fly. Yellow is out as he's up at the front of the field, and we have trouble for the first time tonight. The number 4 new race leader no longer. It's Nicholas Ward. And if you look further back to figure out what happened, there's Ross Cato. And you look through, there's Alan Rawell as well. Don Stevenson has damage, and we're going to take an instant replay to figure out what just caused it here. Don Stevenson among others, and the yellow flag is out, riding on board through the pit strategy, and you see the 47 just made it through. So let's take a look a bit further back to figure out the cause. You see Stevenson there, he was all clean, and it looks like, well, now no longer. That brings out the first yellow flag of the day. 76 laps in, Eli Carr's the lapper again, and it looks like that was just miscommunication. Perhaps Stevenson didn't see him the way he was coming in. Let's ride on board now with Don Stevenson here. Try to figure out a little bit more as we ride on board. Such a quick incident that as soon as we saw it live, disappeared. And it looks like for Eli Carr, he was up at the top of the track. That's going into 1 and 2. Now for Stevenson in the final 2 turns, much different look. Make of it what you will there with the 82 of Eli Carr's. Caution is out. Don Stevenson involved as well. 2-car incident and a fast one coming into pit road. And there is Stevenson. He's down and alone, and the yellow flag is out at a pivotal moment in this race. Might decide the rest of the night as the caution is out, and Matthew Thunhorst has regained the race lead. That's going to sever some strategy for a few drivers, however, most of which went down at pit road, so it shouldn't be too much concern. Ethan Lane is up to second. Sam Nieto is in third. Different look up in front, similar drivers, but now Lane is up into the runner-up position. Catbird seat, that number 54, the best he's looked so far tonight. And maybe a chance to pull it 1 spot higher now as Ethan Lane finds himself 3 tenths off of the overall top spots. Matthew Thunhorst is going to lead for your first caution of the night, 78 laps in, and overall some success here for the 80 team in the early going of this race has been dominant so far, to say the least. I don't think there's any denying that. However, you got to wonder now with Ethan Lane right behind, is there an opportunity for him to turn it up another gear and maybe pull through, fight for the lead? Got to find out in the coming laps here as this time by, we will get the signal for 2 laps to green. As we come through, you'll see Matthew Thunhorst right behind the iRacing official pace car and its company. A lot of lappers here. That's the reason they're up in front. You see drivers who are going to put themselves back on lead lap. Galen Gidman, Bobby Ross, Blake Cannon, Nick Tarbuck is going to be the leader of which. So these are a group of drivers who did not go down a pit road. However, they are going to be cycling back up in front with the leaders here. So it's going to be about 8 drivers who are there before was all said and done, but now this recycle, we will have a total of 20 drivers on the lead lap. So a different look as we're coming up closer to our halfway point here. It is Matthew Thunhorst, the dominant man so far, and we'll see what he can do as we get the 1 to green signal this time by. And now as everyone's going to loop up, time to get things going again. iRacing official pace car lights are off. The signal to get back to racing is imminent, and it's going to be delayed by 1 lap given that everyone is circling the track right now, so can't rush these drivers aboard. And see now Sweeting, Kyle Cooper, Brad Patton, Ross Cato, guys at the back of the field getting themselves settled back in nicely here. 80 laps in. There they go. They're going to get up to the tail end here as it will be 1 lap to green yet again. So we'll come back green at lap 82. It looks like that's going to leave us with 119 laps to go. So time to figure out who's got what it takes here. Our first run about 70 laps in length, and it should still be, for all intents and purposes, a 2-stop strategy overall, and every driver's had their first. Nobody chose to go down and in this time through, and it looks like it's going to be time to do it all over again. 1 more stop, still going to be in the books here. We'll see. Nobody going to waste extra rubber. Nobody opting to go down for a top off on fuel. So it's going to be almost as if we pause the field and put them all back in an order as they were prior to the yellow flag. No changes. Matthew Thunderhorse at the top of the board with Ethan Lane down low. Green flag's out with Thunderhorse gaining the advantage. It's your first restart of the night here in Richmond. For the third spot right now, it's Sam Nieto, Tom Wetmore, and Nicholas Ward. It looks like now going to be thinned out to Wetmore and Nieto. Overall, Matthew Thunderhorse is going to get away, getting a slightly quicker jump. However, Ethan Lane is right there, and it's going to be a battle for the race lead for the first time under green. Now some pressure being placed. There goes Lane down to the bottom side. He's got the lead. New race leader Ethan Lane finds himself up in front. Nice move there for the number 54, but Matthew Thunderhorse, who's been dominant all throughout, see him there. Now, the number 80 runs in second. Not a good feeling, of course, to be passed after so long up in front, but now conditions are continuing to change, and maybe Thunderhorse not the best adapted car for what is next. There goes Tom Wetmore, and Wetmore makes it up in a second here. If he can clear for the pass, which he does, he's now firmly inside the runner-up position. And another move being made oh so quick there as number 51 finds itself now in the catbird seat. You look further back, a few closer battles going to include Nick Tarbuck there. He is with Michael Laraya. Laraya going to be down to the bottom side, and Nick Tarbuck is up top. 86 laps in, out of 200. You see him there. Laraya makes the move, gets the exit, and pulls away for a pass. Sixth spot. There goes Michael Laraya, just like that. A fast move up for the 44. Overall, a little bit more of a spread immediately. You see a few drivers battling, but the closest battle in the entire field. Now for the lead, Tom Wetmore going down to the bottom side, looking to take that spot away from Ethan Lane. And another driver looking for the race lead. Wetmore down to the bottom, having a shot. Now Ethan Lane gonna have to defend up top. And at the line again, it's Lane with a very slight advantage. Minuscule, really. And for Lane, he's on an older set of rubber. That's going to give him in, and Tom Wetmore collects the race lead for the first time tonight. Now, Lane going to run him down to the bottom once again. It's 2x2 at the line, and this time Tom Wetmore with a very slight edge out in front. Wetmore on a younger set of Goodyear rubber. Maybe an opportunity now to take the lead and try to run out of the back straightaway with the edge, and he gets that run. But now Ethan Lane going to have to think of what's next to make the move right back. Maybe a chance for some redemption in the coming laps, but so far for Ethan Lane, he's just got to figure out what's next for him and his performance. Second, quickly taking that lead away is Tom Wetmore, and Matthew Thunderhorse remains a very, very close third. Not going to be a distant relative to this battle. He is still right in the mix if push comes to shove. Chuck Sweeting now going to be with a gaggle of drivers. You can see there the number 14 of Bobby Terrell, also Brad Patton, Bobby Ross, and Kyle Cooper. 2x2. Rows deep, now a lot of concentrated packs, so this is the closest battle, tentatively speaking, and it looks like for now, these drivers are surely going to keep each other close for as long as they can. Galen Gidman remains just ahead. He's the final driver inside the top 10 right now. Everyone in this fight trying to get back up to Gidman, but so far, they haven't quite got there. 75 gets a little bit lower, and he's going to try to get that run off the exit of the corner there with Bobby Terrell, the now number 75, up into 11th, and Galen Gidman now sees the green machine in his rearview mirror directly, and now they're going to be side by side. Panel to panel, there goes the 75 of Chuck Sweeting, and you see him there just a little bit closer, only to fade away. Sweeting, he finds himself currently running just a spot away from the top 10, but Galen Gidman continues to defend. Up in front, Lane and Wetmore close again. At the line, there goes Tom Wetmore getting the lead once more. The 51 defending nicely and using that top side here. If we take a ride on board in the back bumper of Wetmore, here's a look at what it's like right now, fighting for the lead at the halfway point. Wetmore at the line, going to remain your race leader. Sun setting and now almost completely out of frame. Stadium lighting has taken control. A beautiful night here in the virtual Richmond, Virginia. You're watching the Ottawa Excitement 200, and right now, Wetmore finds himself the leader, and it looks like he'll be able to take us into the halfway point. A few other battles. There goes Brad Patton. Patton may be coming alive a little bit later tonight. We haven't seen him much so far. However, now there is the number 7, another man to look out for up in front. Brad Patton has been quick so far this season. However, we haven't quite seen him come in at these short tracks just yet with that tenacity. He's been one of the drivers who's made it up without qualifying for any race, which means he won't put a time in. He'll just let it all come to him as the race goes on, and it looks like another example of that phenomena. He's here and up inside of the top 10. Patton quick and making every race a little bit more exciting for this team, as now the Chevy Impala runs in top 10 just ahead of Chuck Sweeting, and just behind another fierce battle, Blake Cannon and Nick Tarbuck. Tarbuck gonna get down to the inside line if he gets that room, but Blake Cannon has kept them up top, and they're gonna both drift right up high. And for Nick Tarbuck, just not enough room to make the pass until now, and you can see him now making it by, getting it through for another spot. 99 laps in out of 100. We just made it now to the triple-digit marker. Lane trying to lead at the halfway point, but he's going to drift up way high and trying to get that run off the back straightaway to compensate for it, but it looks like Tom Wetmore has that halfway lap in his hands. Lane up top one more time, going to take it up to the higher side for a little bit more speed into the corner, but Wetmore brings us in 100 laps to go here from Richmond. And now you gotta wait and see what Ethan Lane can do. Looks like he's not gonna wait much longer and take it down to the inside on Tom Wetmore, try to squeeze him up top. They'll both drift up high, and at the line, Tom Wetmore no choice but to stay top, as he is now gonna be just barely out of the race lead. A very daring move there for Ethan Lane as the number 54 opts to go bottom side dreaming, and it's a quick move, a very risky move nonetheless, that gets him up to lead, at least temporarily. All of a sudden, Tom Wetmore is going to come across the stripe with a lead again. It's as if that move never happened, and Ethan Lane once again finds himself on the back foot. Lane running right behind Wetmore. Wetmore drifts, and they both keep it together. Nicholas Ward now in the fight, and you can see that number 97 in the mix as well. Lane not afraid to put the back bumper to Tom Wetmore. The 51, he's still together, but just a little bit out of sorts, as of course going to be reorganized there in the backside by the number 54 of Ethan Lane. Nicholas Ward finds himself in third here, and even though he got close there, just doesn't have enough speed. And number 54 now going to try to drop to the bottom side and make that fake out a little bit more worthwhile by executing the move and taking a different line. 96 laps remain. Take a look on board now with Nicholas Ward as the 97 drives up in the fierce lead battle. Now you can see here, Tom Wetmore just barely staying ahead. Ethan Lane is going to drag the backside out each and every turn, and he's trying to get a little more speed as now Eli Carr is the lapper on the top side. Eli going to get away from the leaders, let them all by, and now it's going to be Lane just about a tenth of a second off of Tom Wetmore. Now, one thing to add on to the strategy game here, Ethan Lane is on an 8-lap older run than that of Nicholas Ward and Tom Wetmore. It's a 39-lap-old stint, which means he'll have to come down a pit road sooner. He probably will have to come down within the next 30-odd laps, which would mean at about 63 laps to go, Ethan Lane will be down and in. And for Tom Wetmore, he's got a few more laps he can stretch out of it if he'd like, so he doesn't have to be all too aggressive about this right now, knowing that he will have more time on the newer set of tire at the end of the race to be a little bit more aggressive and push his equipment out further. Looking for win number 1 in his campaign this season. Tom Wetmore, a multi-time winner here in the Integrity Octane Series, looking to break the tie and become the winningest driver, at least for now. Ethan Lane has rapidly risen to the top of the charts himself, and now, historically speaking, your two most successful drivers in terms of the win column, they're racing each other again for the lead, and Wetmore at the line, he's going to make it through to make it 90 laps remaining. Close, but another battle that's beginning to get as close is right behind, and it's Michael Araya, Matthew Thunhorst, also Nicholas Ward. 1, 2, 3. And they're going to go 3 wide briefly there, and now Michael Araya working low. Thunhorst is in the middle, but Nicholas Ward continues to defend. It looks like now for that number 97 with 89 remaining, he absolutely wants to get away, but it looks like maybe Thunhorst a little bit quicker. All that's being said right now for that number 80 machine comes in spite of the fact he's on an old tire run, the exact same as that of Ethan Lane here, so even if he is as quick, he's got older rubber, and it looks like it's still working for him quite well. So all things considered, maybe beating the odds and defying some expectations, is Michael Araya going to be a little bit more in the middle relative to both the drivers he's racing with on a 40-lap stint. Nicholas Ward been on a 44-lap run, and for Matthew Thunhorst, his stint has been a total now of, well, comes up to 40. Nicholas Ward going to come across the line, 37 laps in this time by in particular, and 87 to go. He should have about 30 more in him, and that means he'd come in at about the lap 57 to go marker. What's the difference between a guy like Wetmore or Nicholas Ward or Ethan Lane, and how about Matthew Thunhorst? However, it looks like now Michael Araya holds advantage in this battle, and the fight for third is a new face at the front. It is now going to be Michael Araya's number 44, getting it ahead of former race leader Thunhorst and Nicholas Ward as well. Thunhorst now going to put himself into fourth. Quick pass there as Ward fades back outside the podium, but still inside the top 5. Trevor Drago right now going to be racing Brian McFerrin a little bit closer back here. It's a nice bundle of drivers, and you can see them here. Bobby Terrell, Kyle Cooper, Ross Cato all running together, and Cody Smith in the number 18 Next Level Racing Chevrolet. With 85 laps to go, we'd like to thank the premier partner of the Integrity Ignite Series and the Octane Series as well, Next Level Racing, providing high-quality sim racing performance products for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. Visit nextlevelracing.com for more information about tonight's broadcasting partner and how you can find yourself some of the highest quality sim racing products in all the world. Check out nextlevelracing.com after tonight's broadcast, and we'll be back after this brief message courtesy of our friends at Next Level Racing. Fifteenth spot for Cody Smith as we return 81 laps to go. You're watching the Ottawa Excitement 200 live on FTN. The Integrity Ignite Series has been exciting so far, that's for no doubt. And the 18 of Cody Smith in the middle of the field, which is still fighting position in, position out. Bobby Ross going to come down to pit road this time by the 45, perhaps signaling what is next, a pit road onslaught. And it's first going to come with guys like Ethan Lane, and of course Lane now on a 53-lap run relative to his competitors. He has been on that stint for quite a while now. He's still running firmly in second in that number 54 Chevy SS, but it looks like just hasn't been able to keep it up there with Tom Wetmore. He stayed close, but hasn't had the speed to make a pass. Michael Araya is coming out of nowhere and now running in third, gaining on both the drivers who head the field. So maybe it will not be Ethan Lane the man to worry about, but more so another driver who's putting himself in the mix, and that is the 44. Lariah looking for victory lane once again, looking to put himself in the crooked number category, and it looks like now with Michael going down to the bottom side, getting some more speed off the corner that time by, he was just about as quick as your leaders, just slightly quicker. So Michael Araya, keep an eye out for this number 44. He is fast, and as a matter of fact, he's quicker than both the drivers you're looking at ahead of him. Off the stripe this time by, Lariah going to gain about a tenth of a second on Ethan Lane, just enough to justify the way he's driving it down to the bottom, while Tom Wetmore and Ethan Lane are starting to run a little bit up higher relative to where the rest of the field is to save some tire and keep this battle perhaps going into the later stages of the race. Michael Lariah is diving it deep, trying to go side by side with Ethan Lane at any opportunity. That time by doesn't gain as much. However, he is slightly making the advantage that he has work out time in and time out. It's repetition. That's really what it is right now. Might not be the most evident in the broadcast cameras here, but he is making gains. Look also, Kyle Cooper and Bobby Terrell. You look at the number 73 right now. He is getting closer, and he just made it by. Looks like now going to be clean up ahead for the 73 Cooper, and right behind him, another all-white machine. This time, it's the number 14 of Bobby Terrell, who just got past here with 74 laps remaining. So quickly, Kyle Cooper makes up another spot. Nice to see him get up there, and that's going to put him up into 15th. So far, it looks like a total of 19 drivers are on the lead lap, going back to Randy Fiash as we speak. And it looks like another man comes down at pit road. That will be Trevor Trago from 18th on the board. So another driver who's in the back half of that lead lap bracket, making it in on a 59 lap stint. And with 73 laps to go, he might be able to go all the way from here on out. So not the worst of decisions here. A bit of a risk, mind you, but it could work out. Furthermore, Sam Nieto now going to be right there in the mix with Ethan Lane just ahead. He's still fighting his battle. Michael Araya looking low. Lap machine in the mix of Bobby Ross. Ross now looking down to the bottom side, trying to get away from both Lane and Wetmore. Nick Tarbuck is down and in. That's really going to signal the front runners coming through very, very soon here. This could be the shortest stint of them all for the leaders. It's about 60-odd laps, but with 71 laps to go, you can maybe come in early. Oh, Eli Cars again. Oh, and it's not going to be the 44. Delighted in the slightest. Oh, Michael Araya nearly catching a piece of the 82. And it's a similar thing to what we saw with Don Stevenson. We'll take a quick look right back. This is your instant replay on the matter. And he couldn't have seen that commitment coming. Given the quick nature, the back and forth slide, Lariah lucky to hit the brakes and jam it. As we'll look high, of course, back to the track, a little bit higher than pit road once again. One man who comes in, notable, Ethan Lane, the 54, down and into pit road as Tom Wetmore leads the way. So Tom Wetmore opts to stay out a little bit longer, and the reason being he's only on a 56-lap stint now, so he's going to have the chance to run a little bit longer, maybe go down to the 50s on this run as Matthew Thunhorse comes in. It looks like it's going to be Eric McFarland staying out, while Matthew Thunhorse is going to bring another driver in Nicholas Ward. So it's going to be another pair from the front of the field. Ward, who finds himself currently being in 14th, came in from the top 5. As it stands, you can see that 97 working through, going to be a 4-tire strategy, and of course, 4 tires, fuel. He'll make it back on the way. That should be Ward's final pit stop of the night. 67 laps to go. He should be able to go all the way from this point on. Tom Wetmore is firmly going to be able to make it all the way here. And I think relative to the rest of the field, you should have the advantage in doing so. Wetmore setting up nicely for what could be win number 1 for the TubeTech Chevrolet this year. Sean Kalis there, and it looks like going to be also another lap machine just ahead. So we'll see what Wetmore does about that fact. As you see, coming out of turn 4, Trevor Trago and Sean Kalis just ahead, but Wetmore staying calm as another battle begins. That's because Chuck Sweeting is coming into pit road, so he'll lose a spot or two. 65 laps remaining. Wetmore now right behind Sean Kalis. And the 51 machine now was an opportunity maybe to dive in, but he chooses not to. He's going to be on a 60-lap run at the minimum, and Chuck Sweeting now going to be in a pit road on his own. Nobody else has gone in on that lap, and now 11 drivers remain, make it 10. Randy Fiash, the last of with on old rubber. Ethan Lane, tentatively speaking, leads all those who just came in for a new set of Goodyear Eagles, and Bobby Terrell pushes himself into pit road. So now it's going to be a number 14 machine in, and he's going to be on his own. Another driver coming through in the background, going to be Brian McFerrin. And as Brian comes in, it looks like 69 laps for him. Nice stint. He'll move through in now to the final leg of his race. Tom Wetmore out in front, and he remains there about a second and a third ahead of Sam Nieto. Cody Smith opting to come through with Ross Cato. Cato from 6th, and Cody Smith stays out for just a lap or two more. I think Tom Wetmore might be able to go 10 more laps at the very most. I mean, Cody Smith is on a 72-lap stint. Wetmore, 62. If he really wants to play it safe, maybe there's an opportunity to go even deeper than what we're seeing right now. Tom Wetmore has a lot of room to play around with here relative to other drivers. We'll wait. We'll see, but Tom Wetmore maybe now in a better position than anyone else to go even further and wait to get the new tire when it matters. You can see now going to be a side-by-side battle between Matthew Thunhorst and Nick Tarbuck. It is for position, tentatively speaking, it's for 9th. However, when we come back and cycle around, it should be for about the 5th position. Nice spot there to take, and that's why Matthew Thunhorst took it. And now Sam Nieto drops in. It's number 2 on his lonesome, nobody else around, and now it's his pit road for the time being. Ethan Lane is going to unlap himself. So keep an eye out for Lane. He's going to get back to the lead, I think, of the race overall, but for the drivers on newer tires, they'll have a chance to claw right back in and settle the score before the race is truly over. So worry not for all the Tom Wetmore fans in the chat room. I think it's better right now for him to keep the long game going and try to catch up when those tires begin to burn. Because for Lane, that time by, he's going to come through. He's still about 0.3 of a second away from his fastest lap overall. However, eventually he'll be running laps over a 1.5 seconds slower. And that's when the problems really begin to arise. So I don't think Ethan Lane's got the place to be set up just yet in terms of strategy. It's still a very firm strategy for a top 3 finish, but Wetmore might be able to outdo him. Blake Cannon is a few seconds back, so not quite sure what he can do. It looks like right now this will be a one-on-one race. Wetmore running long, Ethan Lane coming in early. We have a division in strategy. Now we just have to see who's going to choose to take it where. Comes out of those 2 drivers who will be mentioned time and time once more. Now it's going to be Wetmore right up top. He's going to let Brian McFerrin go by. A quick pass there for the 07, and McFerrin is going to get through to put himself back on the 1 lap down train. He'll be put back on lead lap eventually here when everyone cycles down and out. Matthew Thunhorst is back on the lead lap himself. That's going to bring the number 80 machine back up into 8th away from Nick Tarbuck. So Tarbuck would be the next driver to go back on the lead lap too. So with that being said, another battle beginning to brew. Also Kyle Cooper and Bobby Ross. Take a look on board now with the number 73 of Cooper as he tries to hunt down this 45 right ahead of him. So a quick pass there for Kyle Cooper. Bobby Ross, not so much, not going to get the better out of it, and as such, the 45 fades back into 15th, up in front. Looks like Ethan Lane now going to be making some moves. He's up inside the top 5, and now he's only waiting on 4 more drivers. Cody Smith, who stayed out on the track, 81 laps. Brad Patton, who's been on his for 75. Blake Cannon on a 76-lap run. And Tom Wetmore, who is your leader on the youngest run of all those still up in front. So Wetmore, maybe even to push it, even 10 laps more than what we're seeing right now. Unbelievable the way this 51 machine is shaping out. It looks like he's going to prioritize, of course, that very late aggressive run, which might be the way to go. All things considered, not a bad strategy. However, you have to wonder, is it going to be the right move to make when you think about the drivers that are coming by, such as Ethan Lane, who's only 13 seconds back now. Pit road is not fast. It'll take you about 40 seconds overall. So we'll see where they all cycle out. The chips falling where they may. Wetmore's going to have a lot of faith in, of course, getting those new tires up to speed and up to temp very quickly so as to get the speed back in and put competitive laps down. 50 to go this time by for Wetmore, and he's now on a 74-lap stint in that SubTech Chevrolet. I think now you got to wonder about the other drivers too, like Thunhorst, who's now going down to the inside on Eric McFarland. McFarland has chosen not to go down to pit road as well. A little bit lost in the midst of this entirety of strategy run. Eric McFarland still trying, but it looks like he will have to come in. That is the signal. He will make it through, and he will be one of your final pit stops of the night. Eric McFarland opts to come down and in as we still wait for your final 4 up in front. So McFarland is in. Now it's going to come down to those that we previously mentioned, and it looks like Cody Smith. Oh, he misses pit road, and now big trouble. The 18, he's going to miss his stop and have to keep on rolling. One more lap for Cody Smith. We'll see if he can make it here, and maybe he gave himself a buffer. It looks like he did, but Cody Smith is going to come down and in, and he is shaking the wheel back and forth ever so slightly. He'll make it into pit road, not safely, mind you, but he is going to have a load of trouble coming in right on board, and you'll hear what's going on. I think by this point, he's coasting it. Oh, and that he is. It's a miracle he even made it this far. Cody Smith coming down and in with trouble in that number 18, and it looks like now I'm going to have to keep himself silent, slowly rolling, and it is an arduous drive in for the number 18 of Smith. And he will make it into pit road, make it into his stall. It appears he will, but Smith is going to bow down and unfortunately go out with a whimper here on this strategy call. He'll have to keep on going and pick himself back up with 45 to go. Spots have been lost in mass. He's 2 laps down already. 3 drivers remain. Patton, Cannon, Tom, Wetmore. That is the 3-driver group. Wetmore still your leader, Blake Cannon second, and Brad Patton third. They remain out on the track, and now in a big gaggle of drivers. There, Patton fending off Eric McFarland. Also going to be Trevor Trago there too. And now it's going to be a very small minority of drivers. We'll see how much more they can choose to handle. 44 to go. Wetmore has set his sights on just going and going and going. But until now, as a Wetmore will drop down and in into pit road, Wetmore goes, and Blake Cannon opts to come through too. Brad Patton, same goes. New race leader is Ethan Lane. Lane's up in front and now has the lead, and he'll be able to grow it extensively. This might be the move that wins Lane the race, because now for Wetmore and company, we'll see whether or not they can even come back with 43 to go. They're going to be safe, but for Lane, not quite sure if this track position is all he needs. So Wetmore's going to go 1 lap down, and that's going to keep him way out of leading contention for now. All the while, Ethan Lane is about a second off of his best lap each and every time by. So he's slower, but we'll figure out whether or not that distance is a big enough difference to really cause any trouble. I think for now, I don't think there's much of a worry. Ethan Lane is working real good up in front. He has himself 4 seconds ahead of Michael Araya, then about a quarter of a second back on Matthew Thunhorst. And it's the number 80 DMG United machine. 41 laps to go. Looking for another podium. Mr. Consistency looking for his first win here in the Octane Series. Maybe not tonight, but what can I say more about Matthew Thunderhorse than he has been the role model of consistency just about every week in this series. And encompassing both Monday nights and Tuesday nights, he just keeps on rattling off podiums no matter where you go. He has 5 podiums already in the Ignite Series in 7 races, and he missed, of course, the one at Daytona, which, of course, you really can't guarantee anything at Daytona. So for Matthew Thunderhorse, it has been a fantastic opening of the season, unlike any other. And that number 80 machine, we're shining a spotlight on him once again. Wasn't able to get there last time around. Of course, at Texas last night was a new group of drivers. You saw Chuck Sweeting get his first ever win, Vinny Tigner coming home in second, third was DJ Stagner, Shane Ewing in fourth, and Chad Mikas in fifth. Alexander Balderas in the call last night, and it was an exciting race through and through, as now Ross Cato working down low as Kyle Cooper with them. And it's going to be side by side for about a lap or two between these two already. 38 laps to go, though, and we're coming down to the tail end of this one. And we'll tell you once again, for high-quality sim racing performance products for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best, visit nextlevelracing.com for all the information about the Integrity Racing League's premier partner. Since 2009, Next Level Racing's had every sim racing covered with sim racing hardware second to none. We'll be back after a brief message courtesy of our friends at Next Level Racing. You're watching the Ottawa Excitement 200, and you're watching live on FTN. Five laps remaining here in Richmond. Finding himself up in front, it is Cody Smith, and that number 18, of course, finding himself up in front in 19th out of 28. Overall, night of attrition, which leaves very few fighting for the race lead. I think now it's Ethan Lane against the world here as you look in front of the field. Very few have been able to hold on to the lead lap status. Tom Wetmore, he's coming in and coming in fast. That time by running the fastest lap of anyone by 0.8 of a second. So he's quick enough to be the driver to keep an eye out for throughout the rest of the field. Maybe a podium watch, even though he is about 18 seconds behind your leader, cutting it down to 17 on that lap alone. It's going to be 33 laps to go. At this pace, yes, he does catch Ethan Lane. However, caution is out, and we will re-rack them and restack them. McFerrin involved with Blake Cannon. Caution is out. And the yellow flag is out now the second time tonight. Here's an instant replay. Let's take a look back here. It looks like Cannon up in the wall with McFerrin, and simple as that, a 2-car incident brings us back to pacing. Trouble again, and the yellow flag is out. 31 laps to go. An unfortunate circumstance for Blake Cannon and Brian McFerrin. They should be able to both continue. And now you have to wonder about what's going on up in front for the field here. You see Ethan Lane, you see Michael Araya, and all the company up ahead who look to be coming down at pit road one more time. Lane is going to choose to go through. I would doubt everyone does. It looks like a few drivers maybe going to take a risk. Wetmore going to come in, so his momentum will be shot dead quick. Now everyone in the front of the field is going to be on the exact same stint, and now we're going to figure out whether or not there's someone with a true advantage here in the dying laps in Richmond. Looks like now, watching our pit exit camera, we'll see who gets the jump out. It'll be about 28 laps to go when we go back green one more time. Watching now, pit exit, the place to be. It looks like one driver going to get there first, and that is Lane. Ethan Lane going to beat out Michael Orion, then Matthew Thunhorst, then Nick Tarbuck, Sam Nieto, Nicholas Ward, Chuck Sweeting, and Tom Wetmore. That is going to be 10th, which is awarded to Ross Cato, and Galen Gidman going to be close, but it looks like he stays for extended damage repair, as 11th place will then be handed to Kyle Cooper. Now more drivers come down into pit road. That's the second wave, and Brian McFerrin alongside Trevor Trago and Bobby Ross, all of which making their way down and in. However, your leaders are back on the way with Ethan Lane once again holding control, looking for victory lane for a second time at these short tracks this season. Lane on the bottom, Michael Araya right up high. It's going to be side by side for a double file restart very, very shortly, and Richmond comes down to this. So it looks like now it's going to be a just about 27 lap to go run. So it's going to be a sprint. I haven't seen the likes of which before at this rate. We've had two relatively long runs, and now we're coming down to the point where we don't know what to expect given how short this run is going to be. We do about 3 laps a minute. We have 26 laps on the table. You figure it's going to be about 10 odd minutes of full-on racing from here on out, just because of how quick these drivers are. So, that being said, you got to understand how hard it's going to be to get this win taken away from Ethan Lane. Lane, ever since getting it from Matthew Thunhorst, has been the dominant driver, and it looks like he's hoping to, of course, keep himself in that spot. Thunhorst is in third, however, it's going to be a hard press for him to make it through Michael Araya, let alone Ethan Lane, with how little time we have, of course, without making a mistake on either party's side. 1 lap to green. Smith, Patton going to cycle themselves out, and I think we'll go green this time by. If not, a slight extension of the caution will bring us back with 25 laps to go. And it looks like the lights are still off, so we will go back to it this time by for restart number 2. It's going to be Ethan Lane on the bottom, Michael Araya right up high. Everyone going to be stacked 2 by 2, and the front runners make it through with Lane in full control through the Geico restart zone. Welcome to your second restart of the night. 26 laps to go. Lane gets the jump. Everyone else find themselves going to be 2 by 2 for the large part of the pack. Of course, front runners still going to be very tight with one another, but Lane gets away, having a 4/10 of a second gap as they come out of the first lap here. So, early going in this restart, Ethan Lane once again proving why he's got the lead and doing some Ethan Lane things, getting that quick jump and getting away as he's already looking to establish himself in the point fight. He missed the early races. He came back with a vengeance and got it done at Rockingham. Got it done at Bristol. Rather, Rockingham, he got it done last season. Returned at Rockingham, got it done at Bristol, and now finds himself in the position to do it all over again with 24 laps to go. This time by, it looks like it's still going to be Lane advantageous. Next time by, with 22 laps to go, we will thank our camera associate at trackcams22.com. For the highest camera quality in all of iRacing, check out trackcams22.com or facebook.com/trackcams for over 100 track and car combinations. We'll be back, but with 22 laps to go, let's crank it up, courtesy of our friends at trackcams22.com. 14 laps remaining. This time by for Ethan Lane, a man with a 6/10 of a second advantage. Feel awful comfortable at Richmond in most cases. However, with Michael Araya behind you, you never really can get all too cozy, no matter which track you're at. So, I think now for Ethan Lane, the question's going to become, how can you defend upon the number 44 if he gets quick enough to make a move? That time by, they were only separated by about a 1/10 of a second, and the advantage was in Ethan Lane's favor. So it looks like not much to worry about right now for Lane. All the while, Michael Araya running his pace, Matthew Thunhorse back in third, Nick Tarbuck, Sam Nieto, and Tom Wetmore are going to be the men who bookend the top 6. And further on, you also see Cooper, Sweeting, and Ross Cato. Nicholas Ward had been intermediate troubles with internet tonight. However, nothing fatal to this point for his race. He is still with us, up in about 7th. However, he has been flickering in and out, so we'll see where he is at the line in a dozen laps time here. He's still fighting it pretty quickly, getting up to Tom Wetmore, and now looking down to the bottom side on the 51. Tom gonna get a nice enough run off the corner to keep defending, and it's gonna be now that number 51 Tube Tech Chevrolet staying right up to the middle groove, keeping Nicholas Ward on the bottom, keeping all the way there, holding him low, and hoping, of course, keep him away from a spot, which he's done a good job of so far. However, we'll see how long he can prevail in holding him off. It's now the home stretch. That's no doubt 10 laps to go for Ethan Lane, and he has been magnificent tonight, to put it shortly, getting the lead from Matthew Thunhorse, which is never an easy task. For Thunhorse, the night could have been much better, but I think it all came down to strategy. He had the be-all, end-all strategy, of course, when the race was going all green. It just didn't come to be, given the strategy being altered by cautions, and that is just sometimes the nature of racing. Of course, didn't come to fruition as a result of the issues all throughout the track. Only 2 cautions tonight, mind you, so we have had an overall very clean race. But for Thunhorse, cautions coming at the wrong time. He's still up in the podium. Not a race to be upset with, not at all. He led laps, got the pole, podium as well. So for Matthew Thunhorse, a very good race for this number 80 team. But again, they seem so familiar with that 3rd place spot. No matter if it's in Monday night competition, in the Ignite Series, or if it's here on Tuesday, just seems to be a little bit more of a custom nature in 3rd rather than anywhere else, which is a good thing. You could be much further. You could be 28th, 27th, and so on and so forth until you hit 3rd. But you could also be that guy who wins the race. Getting 1 win so far in the Ignite Series, so he is not missing a victory so far this year, but I'm sure another one on the bucket list here in 2024 is a win in the Octane Series. He's close, and he's been close, just hasn't quite gotten there, so it's going to be a little bit closer fighting Nicholas Ward and Tom Wetmore. Wetmore got by. That will move Ward back into 7th. 6 laps to go. Ethan Lane, 195 laps in, finds himself advantageous and running very well to this point. I think now it's a matter of time until we figure out who crosses the checkered flag first, and odds are, without a mistake, it might just be that number 54. For those of you who want more racing action tonight live on FTN, check out the Highline Racing League Truck Series at Knoxville. It's the Hard Knocks Derby, and they're having a fun time with the dirt tracking. It's an exciting series every 9:30 Eastern on a Tuesday night, so we hope you check them out as well. 4 laps to go. Ethan Lane, who's held his own nicely tonight, he might be one of the many, of course, stopping by next week as we look forward to the rest of the Integrity Octane Series calendar, and it's going to be a very, very fun second leg of the tour. We had our first leg, now moving on to stint number 2. Indianapolis Raceway Park is up next, 150 laps at Lucas Oil. So it's not going to be a big track just yet. Talladega 2 weeks from now. However, we're going to keep us going with the very small circuits as Eli Cars is going to pull down and in. The 82 keeping down low. A little bit of trouble for him tonight, but overall he's made it to this point in 21st. So not at all bad as the popsicle sticks are out. 2 laps to go for a dominant Ethan Lane as Ross Cato now going to fight just within the confines of the top 10 with Kyle Cooper. Nothing comes of the battle with Cooper. It looks like he's going to fade behind the number 12, Nicholas Ward, keeping Chuck Sweeting at bay. Sweeting having a very nice night from outside the top 20, inside the top 10, and a long night's work has put him up inside of the top 10 for a second night in succession. For Ethan Lane, he didn't start this race up in front, started in 21st as a matter of fact, and he's clawed his way through with strategy on his side all throughout. The fastest driver in the final 150 laps comes out of turn 4 to take the checkered flag in Richmond. Second straight short track win. Ethan Lane gets it done in Richmond and will win the Ottawa Excitement 200. Lane, a winner again, and this is, of course, an opportunity now to fight for the championship. Missing the early races, not the biggest of deals when you've got the speed of this number 54 team. Lane back in action, Tarbuck up and over, and it's now time for Ethan to celebrate as he comes down to the front stretch to burn down the house. Slithering into a position and keeping the burnout going. Lane, the celebration is on. And just like that, Ethan Lane will conclude his celebration night. Checkered flag is his, and your race winner gets it done tonight from Richmond. You've been watching the Ottawa Excitement 200 live on FTN. Ethan Lane collects the checkered flag, getting it done over Michael Orion second, Matthew Thunder's third, Nick Tarbuck in fourth, and Sam Nieto then in fifth. It's going to be Tom Wetmore in sixth, and Nicholas Ward then in seventh, with Chuck Sweeting eighth, Kyle Cooper then in ninth, and Ross Cato position number 10. 11th spot on the day, just outside the top 10. That is going to go to Bobby Terrell, then Brad Patton in 12th, Cody Smith going to be in 13th, and Trevor Trey going 14th, with Bobby Ross then 15th, and Brian McFerrin in position number 16. Eric McFarland is in 17th, and it'll be Randy Fiash 18th, with Jonathan Gearvon 19th, and Galen Gidman then in 20th. Position number 21. That's going to be going to the driver tonight in the number 21 spot. It's the 82 Eli Cars. Then going to be Sean Kalis in 22nd, Blake Cannon in 23rd, Alan Rawell then going to be in 24th, and Don Stevenson is going to be in 25th, with John Steele 6th, Matt Jonas 27th, and Braxton Deweese, due to a hardware failure, 28th and last on the day. How about we get a word from your top three drivers, and of course, Lane, the man we've got to start with, collecting the checkered flag once again. 54 machine, unstoppable of the short tracks, and tonight it was not a last lap pass, was dominant. So the number 54, by no means a fluke tonight, and we're going to get a word from Ethan Lane right now, getting it done and pulling through for race win in Richmond. It's Lane once again on top. Short tracks so far have been the bread and butter of this 54 team. Another win tonight with a little more dominance on the side of the crew. Got this Chevy SS up to the top. Ethan Lane, you win here in Richmond. How are you feeling?
Feeling good after how many cars we had to pass tonight. That was tough going from 21st. I knew the top would be fast going into it after last week in the official series on the road to pro. Just didn't know how good it would be, and it definitely was really good. I thought Michael was going to get me and Tom there during that middle run after the first caution, and then he pitted, and I was like, I have to react, or I'm not going to win this race. Or we reacted. Pit crew did an amazing job. We gapped him, I think, by like 1.3 seconds, even with him pitting a lap early, and then just continuously gapped him after that. And then that caution came out with like 30 to go, and I was just hoping it went green from there.
And it looks like that short sprint getting you the distance to go all the way. 2 cautions tonight. For a short track, we saw very good numbers in terms of getting those long green flag runs in. And for this team, had to do a lot of the work in making those passes up under the first green flag stint. What was it like with the struggle, of course, having to make those spots up as the night progressed?
It was tough. Especially once we got up like 7th, 8th. I know it did even tougher from there. We just kept rolling the top, kept passing people, and we made it up to like 4th, I think, by the first green flag stop, and we just let strategy play out.
Strategy playing out quite nicely here in Richmond and getting you back to victory lane to start the second leg of the tour. Up next, IRP, another short track, not one we visit all too often with these Gen 4 stock cars, so another new opportunity on the horizon. You think some of the principles that you've seen so far that have gotten you so much success can be carried over for perhaps a third short track win?
I hope so. IRP is a tough little short track, especially with progressive banking and having to be by the wall through the center of the corner. It's definitely create some chaos. And I don't know if it'll be as clean and green tonight as it was, or will be next week. Hopefully, it will be. But who knows? We try to qualify better next week. If we don't, it's gonna be a really long climb to the top. If we can come out with a win.
Collecting the checkered flags in this series, Ethan Lane with another tonight in Richmond. If you have anyone else to shout out, make sure to let us know.
Just you, David, putting on these broadcasts. Like I always say, it's fun to go back and watch, no matter if we win or finish like 10th, 15th, whatever. For Jacob, everybody putting on this league on Tuesday nights, it's definitely fun to come in and have good, clean racing for 200 laps.
Just like that, getting it through the number 54, Ethan Lane. We thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Lane going to come home tonight, of course, with a dominant win. Up next on the board, it's going to be second spot going to Michael Araya, the 44 team. Close again to victory lane and just a few tenths off tonight. And it looks like the speed for this team, consistency, it counted. Second place here in Richmond, Michael. What's it like?
I little disappointed. I felt like I would have had a little bit better speed tonight. But Ethan was really fast on the short run there. I was really doing all I can to catch him at the end, and once he started running the high line, I knew it was going to be really tough to get him. Pretty much at that point, my best shot was hoping that he might overdo it and get in the wall, and maybe I can get underneath him. It didn't help either that I spun the tires a bit on the restart there, so really that was one of my big shots. I needed to at least get side by side with him going into one, but it didn't happen. So I was kind of just doing all I can to make up the time that he was able to gain on that jump. But overall, still a really solid night.
Very consistent all throughout for this number 44 team. We've seen how quick overall this entire program is, but the short tracks in particular looks like you held steady yet again, third to second, so not much gaining overall, but of course doesn't really highlight how it was with strategy. 2 cautions, short sprint at the very end, alongside some green flag pit stops, which of course make everything a little bit spicier. So what was it like holding your own against the best of the best who were fighting for the win?
Yeah, during one of the green flag sequences, when I was trying to kind of undercut him by pitting a little bit early, and unfortunately, there was a car that got loose right in front of me and ended up having to get down right on the apron just in front of the entrance to pit road, and that really cost me a lot of time. So pretty much anything that I gained by doing that maneuver, I lost, and then I was a little bit at a tire disadvantage from that point. So if that didn't happen, it'd be interesting to see how things would have played out, just with the undercut. But I think the guys that stayed out maybe a little bit longer there were probably going to be in better shape overall. I think I was a little bit too aggressive looking back, but that's the things you can do when you have a few wins in the season at this point, and it at this point just keep trying to get more wins. So I definitely want to be more aggressive with strategy. But it was just great overall to have green flag racing for that long, especially at a short track like Richmond. I know in the official series, Richmond can be absolutely awful. So it's really good to see that we're capable of a league just to be able to get green flag runs like this at a really challenging track. So overall, I think everybody did a great job tonight, and it was certainly a lot of fun just trying to manage your tires and make it towards the end. But overall, just a solid night.
Another solid night for this 44 team, proven to be already perhaps an early championship contender. We're going to some territory we've never seen in this league before. IRP, Lucas Oil Raceway, right up next, keeping the short track swing alive at a track I don't think almost anyone in this field has any major experience with these Gen 4s. This time, not going to be fun or games necessarily. It's going to be league racing for 150 laps at a track, of course, most dissimilar from Bristol, Richmond, and Martinsville later further on down the road. So what's it going to take to maybe succeed at another short track, which is perhaps the most unique of them all?
This is going to be probably one of the most challenging races that we have for the year, honestly. IRP is just a very tricky track. It's very technical. It can get really tight off of the corners, not a lot of room to work with. People are definitely going to have to be mindful of just giving each other space. But I haven't run a race there in a long time, and I haven't run a race there at all in the Gen 4. So I think it's going to take being able to save your right rear, especially at that place, and then having the ability to move around a little bit is going to be very important. It's a very tough place to pass, and guys that maybe can run various lines a little bit better than others, it's certainly going to help quite a bit when trying to navigate traffic. So I think that's going to be crucial. But really, if we're able to go green, getting a good qualifying spot, I think is going to be very important. And I intend for things to probably get spread out a bit. And, you're just trying to manage your pace at that point. So it's going to be very challenging, but I'm definitely looking forward to it.
So far, this 44 team rising to the occasions for a second place run night in Richmond. We're looking forward to what's next as we head down to IRP. Before we do, Stat, well, tell you this much. If you've got any final thoughts for us, make sure to let us know and give some shout outs if you have them.
Yeah, got to give a shout out to Sim Speed Shop. Got to give a shout out to my teammate Sam Nieto. And I got to give a shout out to you, David, for the broadcasts. And I got to give a shout out to the admins for the league itself. Yeah, it's been a really fun season so far.
Just like that, runner-up on the day here in Richmond, Michael Araya. We once again thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
44 on the move, one more driver to speak to. Mr. Consistency maybe missed the mark last night at Texas. However, it looks like another top three in the Octane Series to make up for it. Matthew Thunnor's podium, pole position, leading laps. Overall, checking off almost every box on the day here in Richmond. How you feeling? 1.6 seconds off the win when all was said and done.
Yeah, David, kind of to your point, I checked off all the boxes except the most important one. So it was one of those that I had the advantage of getting the qualifying and getting that position and being able to run out front. And that's pretty much the only advantage I really had over Michael and Ethan. And honestly, I felt like I was better when the sun was still up. And it's just once the sun went down, I felt like I went from easily a podium to possibly race winning, depending on how it played out, to, just lucky to hold on to a top five. So it was really weird. I know there at the end, I know Nick was seeing what Ethan was doing, and they were making the topside work, which kudos to iRacing and whatever they've done with these past couple of updates, because all of a sudden it's like Texas yesterday, Richmond today. It's all of a sudden you can spread out, and it's been really unique again, and it's good to see that working. And so, but yeah, just, it kind of sucks being a short track guy to come out here and just only podium, and when I kind of just circled hoping to win it, and we started out strong. So, still a good run. Can't complain too much at getting a good amount of stage points, getting the most laps led, and all that other fun stuff. So, just a good race, and try to continue the momentum up to, I guess I heard it's IRP next week. So, oh boy.
It's going to be an exciting race, I'll tell you this much at IRP. But focusing on one more thing about this race in particular, you mentioned it. Sunset. We had a big condition change as the race went on, and so if you can tell us a little bit more about that. A lot of drivers facing it, but of course for this number 80 team meant a lot more being up at the front of the field.
Yeah, David, it was normally, and this is what's been weird before these updates with the track surface changes that they made, is that generally when it's the bottom, or when it goes to night, the bottom is kind of where all the speed consolidates and there's no going up the track. And despite that, it's just that speed didn't consolidate. I mean, Michael was running the bottom really good. Ethan was running the top really good. I mean, you could spread out all over this place. And so that was exciting to see. And, it's just for me, it kind of made the car a little too tight on entry. And so then I started burning the right front up, and then I sit there and try to get off the corner with less corner speed in the middle. And then I just burn the right rear off, and then I just be squirrely all over the place. So, I had the short run speed just because the tires were still on it. But, you all saw it there kind of that last run is that Michael and Ethan's just started walking on me. So, we'll take a podium and keep our head held high after this one. We put on a strong performance, but just need to work a little bit harder to get that little bit much more.
A little bit more on the table and another chance to go for it next week. It'll be Indianapolis Raceway Park, and chaos, we're sure to see it at a track we have not visited so far in this league. What's it going to be like? Of course, uncharted territory.
Being a short track guy, kind of that being my kind of specialty on the stuff, and running ARCA and a lot of those other kind of series, I'm familiar with IRP. It's going to be interesting now taking what's, I think, like a 900 horsepower car there. It's definitely top lane dominant with, I think, probably what it was the first of kind of a progressive banking track, or at least two different types of banking, with that top side next to the wall having a little bit more. But, I hope it's not going to be like Bristol where we have a bunch of cautions, because it's going to be one of those, someone gets the wall and all of a sudden with the way these cars can slide around underneath the bumper of another, it's, oh boy, so hopefully we're able to avoid that, have some good, long, clean run in there. And, it's going to be hard to pass because that high side's going to be really good. And so, you might be able to sit there and channel your inner Dale Jr. next week and call out side jobs and all that other fun stuff, because we'll see that a lot more than we did tonight, even though shockingly you did see it here at Richmond of all places. So, just hopefully we can put on a good race. Per what Jacob said in the series chat, maybe we'll have to pay him to stay off next week as well, and maybe we'll be able to have a lot of green running.
That being said, maybe an opportunity to keep on going, find 2 spots more next week. Matthew Thunor's consistency, it looks like it comes through this time around in the Octane Series for a podium finish. If you have any final shout-outs to make, of course, floor is yours.
Yeah, Jacob, just, all the admins, I think, Don, Tom, Cody, that helped put all this on, everybody that showed up tonight and race that's part of Octane. So just a thanks to everybody there. Thanks to everybody that tunes in and watches. Hopefully they enjoyed this, because this is a lot racier than, like I said, I was expecting with it being a night race. And just thanks to all the sponsors. I don't know who's doing it tonight, but, just all the folks that helped put this on, like I think Big Evil Designs, Next Level Race, and all those folks. So the support they give is really appreciated. And I guess we'll see y'all next week at IRP. And also, thanks to you and everybody else at Fireball Talks, David. I can't forget you. So you do such a good job with us. So, but thanks to all those folks again, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you next week too.
Matthew Thunor's an exciting night for the 80 team, pulling home with another podium finish. We thank you once again for your time.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Matthew Thunor's still on the way. The number 80 machine finishes 30 tonight with Michael Araya then second, and Ethan Lane getting it done and winning here in Richmond. All things said and done, the number 54 has not disappointed since his return. Another checkered flag, and he's now firmly in the championship battle. Check out next week in the Indianapolis Raceway Park when we go at it once again. One more short track before we head to Talladega for another long super speedway race. Keep your eyes peeled as we will return with racing action next Tuesday night. You've been watching the Integrity Octane Series at the virtual Richmond Raceway. This has been a presentation of the Ottawa Excitement 200 live on FTN. We'll be back on Thursday night with the Iora Cup Series and the Highline Racing League, a doubleheader, and the Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series also coming back live on FTN as well. We'll be back, of course, on Thursday, and until then, I've been David Kreutz, commentator and producer for tonight's event. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Thank you all for watching live on FTN, and I hope you have a fantastic night.